it's going to be awesome because deathmatch is a lot of fun. So here we are, deathmatch, point 3, game number 1 in this mini best of 3 within the best of 7, which this series is. And we have this 2v2 deathmatch little segment, which should be a lot of fun. Up to the northeast of the map in the teal, we've got Christ playing as the Saracens, and up to the northwest in the red, we've got FedEx playing as the Mongols. That's the ZZ team. Down to the southwest in the blue, we've got Riot playing as the Mongols, and down to the southeast, we've got Jitba in the green playing as the Saracens. Now, Christ would like to have you believe that he was the one who got me into casting AOC. That is not true, but as a matter of fact, he was one of the first guys who I met in the AOC community, and he wanted me to cast some deathmatch tournament they were doing almost like 3 years ago now, and yeah, I did that, but yes, I am. Anyway, yeah, Mongols versus Mongols on this left flank, and on the right side it's the Saracens versus the Saracens. I really enjoy this matchup because of the sheer amount of camels we get to see, but it's worth noting that normally, well, the previous games we've seen with this matchup, the Saracens have been against the Mongols. In this case, it's not that way at all. But I would not be surprised if some of those Saracen camels make their way into one of the Mongols' bases. Obviously, both guys on the flanks, or both teams, trying to get those castles up nice and early to protect their villagers and to obviously be super effective against those heavy camels as well. Jitba here, the first to get those castles up, and Jitba also with the highest population right now. Jitba, I don't think Jitba was playing 100% in previous games. Now, Riot and Jitba make a fantastic team. Riot, in fact, seems to have been giving the best performances in these deathmatch games so far. But if I don't think Jitba was playing 100%. I think Jitba is now going to start ramping it up again. They're in the double elimination stage. They don't want to lose a game, and Jitba is probably just going to step things up a little bit more. He's on 67 population, and you know, this is kind of a nice game because Christ, obviously a big figure in the deathmatch community, has been for a long time, against Jitba on the right side. You know, these guys have probably played hundreds of games together in the past, and it's going to be cool to see how it goes down. On this left side though, there you go, those Saracen camels, like I said earlier on, making their way in towards FedEx on this left flank. Those Mongol camels really outshined by the camelry of the Saracen civilization, but that castle there certainly gonna cause a few problems for the camels sitting underneath it, as Riot now makes that switch into Mangadai, and this is really just about keeping the pressure on. You know, these units are basically gonna be suicided under this castle, and Jitba does not give a flying monkey about it. Mostly because it's all about just applying the pressure, keeping FedEx locked up. Ron286 just donated $1. Thank you very much, man. He said, how much wood woodchuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? A woodchuck would chuck as much wood as a woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. That's how much wood a woodchuck would chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. Yeah, so on the right side, Christ now looking pretty good actually. 118 population. He's starting to head over to the left side. Jitba taking quite a big hit to his population count thanks to suiciding them to this castle, but they've really put FedEx really far back. FedEx down to 22 pop right now, but Christ, you cannot ignore on 98 population at the moment, but quickly pushed back, quickly resisted by Jitba. Now you've got Christ reinforcing this left flank, getting FedEx back on his knees, and Riot now might find himself in a little bit of a problem because, you know, Mangadai are fantastic, but not Samurai, Elim Mamaluk even. I don't know why I thought Samurai. For a minute I just saw the sword and thinking that's the Samurais. No, it's not. Mamaluk are obviously a little bit better than Mangadai in a one-on-one fight. The only real redeeming factor for the Mangadai here is that they have the range advantage, and you are going to have to take advantage of that. Riot now looking in a little bit of trouble. He's not got a great amount of army on this left flank, and he's going to be relying on Jitba to send over a few units to help deal with this mass army of Christ on the left flank. Christ, meanwhile, on the right flank, sitting behind his castles for now, starting to produce some of those siege onagers. And I mean, siege onagers in this kind of game are going to be absolutely pivotal. A couple of big siege onager shots, and it's going to allow you to basically take control of the map, take control of the battle that you're partaking in. On this left flank though, Christ really supporting FedEx very well, and FedEx now has more population than Riot. So although FedEx was down to 22 population at one point, he's getting back up on his feet pretty quickly. Pardon me. Sure, FedEx does only have 10 eco at the moment, compared to everybody else's 50 plus, but he is making up for that in the fact that he is overproducing, well not overproducing, but he's pumping out the military to boost the numbers and try and get some revenge, I guess. On the right side, there's onagers from Christ making their way forward, and Jidba here, no onagers in sight right now. So just a couple of rams. I think they're going to get taken down very quickly by these Mameluke. Pergonar says, Iceberg, sort out your problem with your 3DS and add me. Okay, right. Well, that's the kind of thing you should keep to the chat, but thank you for your donation, much appreciated anyway. I have a 3DS, but I am not using it at the moment. I should use it. Hannah bought me Pokemon for my birthday. I've not played it yet. I feel very bad. I will be playing it soon though, and I will add you, and then you can play Pokemon with me. It'll be great. So on the right side, Jibba focusing down on those siege onagers, obviously, and bringing those Mameluke in. Now, that is a victory there for Jidba, quite clearly. Just focusing down those onagers so quickly, only losing one of his own, and still managing to take out 5 or 6 of Christ's. The mix of camels and Mameluke just so strong. FedEx making an appearance on the right side here. Might just catch Jidba off guard. Those Mameluke really need to, not Mameluke, sorry, Mangudai really need to stay out of arm's reach of those camels there. Those Saracen camels. Rit now coming over to the right side as well. Mass Mangudai, and also the addition of some Hussar. Obviously the Mongol Hussar is fantastic, incredibly good health, great at dealing with melee, as they don't have the final defense upgrade, but they do have the extra health there. But the Hussars really not going to work too well against the Saracens, let's be honest. Against the other Mongol player, yeah, they're going to be fine. And you can see FedEx now starting to add a few of those Hussars in himself. Not a great deal of Mangudai, though, from FedEx, you might notice. There's not a large amount of Mangudai here. And the biggest problem for FedEx at the moment is he's still so far behind in eco. Riot has almost 100 more economy units than FedEx right now. So that means that FedEx is going to be able to... Sorry, Riot, with the larger trade, with the larger economy, is going to be able to afford to pump out more and more Mangudai. And at the end of the day, more Mangudai beats more Hussars. That's the bottom line of it. So if you're producing more Mangudai and your opponent's just making Hussars, you're going to get the upper hand. There's not really a lot more to it than that. On the right side though, FedEx is, sorry, not FedEx, Christ is pushing pretty hard against Jidba. Jidba holding onto this hill on the right, but there's quite a lot of rams coming in. I'm concerned this castle might go down. I think it probably will go down, in fact, as Christ comes in. There are a couple more siege rams behind this, and they are going to get a couple of kills, in fact, because they are attacking downhill. But this castle will fall, and Jidba does not have a huge army behind this, just 19 military units. And this is where things start to get a little bit dicey, where you've got this big eco that you've just suddenly built up out of nowhere, but you've not got a huge surplus of resources. Now, if we quickly look at FedEx's eco, he's down to 112 gold, which is really not very much at all. He's spending it as he gets it, pretty much. We have a quick look at Jidba, however. 500 gold. You know, he's not exactly miles ahead. He's not exactly light years ahead in terms of gold count right now, even though he has over double, nearly double the eco of FedEx. So Jidba's in this kind of situation where, yeah, got to get those units out, got to get the production as fast as possible. Make sure he's got enough of those military production buildings, pumping out the Mamelukes, pumping out those heavy camels, and defending on the hill for now. I don't know if he... What? That castle is still up? No. He must have rebuilt that. I swear that castle went down a minute ago. But you know, he rebuilds it, and now he's kind of reinforcing it with another one as well. So Christ tried to stick up another castle here, But no, that's not going to happen, and he will lose this castle as well, and that's the GG. They're calling it perhaps a little prematurely, but look at the populations. Sorry, I was trying to say there. If you have a quick look at the populations, you can see Christ there down to 93 pop. Jidba clearly overwhelming him in the military. And with FedEx having such a rough and shaky start, I think it was pretty difficult for FedEx to really get himself back into that. So a really nice game from the TyRanT team. Very, you know, at one point with that push from Christ, Jidba going down to 90 military, you almost think for a second, hang on a minute, this is looking kind of dicey on the right flank. But the huge eco back here, the huge amount of trade that's going on, I mean, look in the comparison here, look at the comparison, sorry, of the trade. You're not seeing a big trade line at all. I mean, FedEx building the markets up this left side because the left flank was so pressured early on. They can't trade here. Riet's literally right there. And they can't really trade across the top either, because if they want to come down to this right side, Jibba's got his markets here. So really very little gold income here for the ZZ team. You see Christ's eco, most of it now becoming idle as those gold piles get hoovered up by the villagers. Bad news for those guys, and good win for TyRanT. So TyRanT going to get the TyRanT Warlords, sorry, going to get the first point in this best of 3. And we'll go to game number 2 to see how it goes. We'll load that straight up. I don't want to mess around. We'll just go straight into it. So we're back. This is a best of 3, of course, between ZZ and TyRanT Warlords for the 3rd point in the overall best of 7 for the double elimination stage. Man, it's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? And yeah, so currently 1-0 to the TyRanT Warlords, as you will probably know, because you literally just watched the first half of this video, and we'll introduce the players, see where they're at. Up to the northwest of the map in the green, we've got FedEx playing as the Mongols, and down to the south of him is Christ in the red, playing as the Saracens. I think we're seeing a little bit of deja vu right now. What's going on? We literally just saw this matchup. Unusual, to say the least. So over to the right side, again, we've got the Mongols for Riet in the blue. And down to the south of Riet, we've got Jidba in the yellow playing as the Saracens. This is exactly the same game as last time, only the players are in different positions, and even the civs are in the hands of the same players as well. At the top, Mongols versus Mongols, and at the south, Saracens versus Saracens. I don't know if these guys chose these civs specifically to try and play, you know, like a rematch in a sense. But if that is indeed the case, that is pretty ballsy from the ZZ team. And the fact that they would attempt to rematch effectively that first game after losing it, it's kind of like, well, risky in a tournament situation like this, unless they feel completely confident in their ability to take a game. But we'll see what happens, I guess. FedEx here off to a shaky start once again. 18 population for him as he rams that castle up into the air like he just don't care. And Riet continues to keep that pressure up, killing these villagers off at the back. But there's 2 castles there on the front, going to make it a lot more difficult for Riet to get into the woodwork and start killing those villagers off. FedEx quickly trying to get his economy up and running, unlike last time where he very much struggled to do that. Now down at the south, Jidba, very early aggression, very early pressure onto Christ. Christ playing a much more defensive game at the moment. Castle's going up at the back of the map, which is really unusual. A very interesting place to put a castle there. You'd think it would make sense to put them on the hill on the right here, but no, he's putting them up at the back against the edge of the map. This castle is so redundant, I don't even know. Well, it's not totally redundant, but still, only one castle really needed to protect this gold here. Would have been a little bit more worthwhile, I think, to put it up on the front to protect this gold and stone on the right side. Per Gunnar says, I was just trying to joke with him. Stupid Per Gunnar, sorry. You don't need to apologize, man, it's fine, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, really. What I was trying to say, basically, is if it's like a personal message for someone else, then it's probably best to just say it in the chat. But yes, thank you for your donation anyway, it's much appreciated. So on the left side now, Christ going over to FedEx once again. Like we saw this last time, like the last game, it was almost, you know, identical. to this. It's not far off, is it? FedEx down at 28 population. Everyone else up on about double that. You've got Christ coming over to help FedEx out. It's almost like deja vu entirely at this point, which is rather unusual. I don't know. But yeah, it's FedEx obviously saved by Christ, but this is just opening the door for Jidba to start doing some Jidba magic up at the center of the map. Jidba coming into the TC at the moment and gonna be taking down that Vil and prevent that eco from going up. And you can see Christ laying out these farms so quickly that they're miles away from the town center. Fantastic farm placement as ever. But these villagers going to get cut down very quickly. Jibba just getting right back there. Can prevent 3 town centers from going up and keep that pressure on to Christ, whilst Christ and FedEx attempt to push back at Riot. It's a spitting image of the game we just saw, but that's not too much of a problem because whilst it's going pretty similarly to last time, FedEx is really not as far behind as he was last time. He is still struggling to get his eco up. These TC's castles kind of denied on the south side, and once again I foresee a similar problem. The trade here for Christ and FedEx is non-existent right now. There's no markets going up at the edge of the map or anything like that. Whereas if we have a look, Riot getting his markets up already, Jidba's got his markets up. These guys are starting to trade nice and early. And although this time the map isn't so bad, Christ and FedEx can easily trade with one another. Quite late to get the markets up and running. Jidba's running around at the back of the map here trying to cause all manner of troubles. And while that is going on, we got FedEx with mass siege onagers on this right side. He is making a shed load of siege onagers right here, and trying to push forwards. They're trying to 2v1 against Riot on this right side. Riot at the moment gonna have to fall back. Like he has no real choice here but to fall back, but he has got castles on the hills. He is sitting there with, like, what, 5 castles. Most of his eco protected at the back by these TCs. Mostly just taking the gold right now. And kind of the way that Riot's build is kind of odd. No real farms going up at the moment. No wood collection or anything like that. Just pure gold income. But Christ patrolling into this castle and losing a couple of camels very quickly. Good job he moved out of there. Otherwise that would have been a lot of dead camels, a lot of dead Mamluk very quickly, as castles are just so super effective against those Mamluk and camels there. But this is a problem here, I see. FedEx and Christ, they're not pushing really at all. Like, they're going to take down this castle. Yep, that's good. They're going to put up a castle on the hill. That's fine. They're going to even wall this off on the right side to protect what trade they're going to start making. But they're not really pushing. They've held this area for far too long without making a move. And considering FedEx is pretty outnumbered here, they've not taken that and turned it to their advantage. We've now got Jidba coming through with a few units, whilst on the left side, Jidba's actually looking a little bit ropey. There is a siege onager here though, so he should be able to take that siege ram down and protect this castle. But who knows? Obviously quite a bunch of Mamluk there as well. So we'll see. Xavier Tenka just donated $1. I love the way you cast the games. It's so supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Sorry, I read that wrong. I should have known what that was trying to say. But thank you, Xavier Tenka. Oh man, I've not watched Mary Poppins in many, many years. But it was a good film. And I'm feeling very super... Oh god. I can't even say it. Like, I should be able to say that. It's so British. But I don't know. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. It's a very long word, but how do you spell it? IT, I believe. So, anyway. Christ and FedEx actually with the score lead at the moment. And they are sitting in the population lead as well. They are doing a pretty good job this game. Like, FedEx didn't get put down and out as fast as he did last time. And that's the real difference in this game so far. They have really put Riot on the back foot with this kind of 2v1 here on this right side. Riot now trying to stick up a castle on this hill. A good placement by him will protect this TC and furthermore protect this right flank quite considerably. Christ, just throwing away the units here though. Seriously, losing so many to the grouped Mangadai and Mamluk of Jidba and Riot, and this is now a problem. It's amazing how quickly things can turn around. I mean, Christ and FedEx had the population advantage, and now Jidva and Riot take it with that single battle on this right side. Christ's going to send in a bunch more Mameluke here. But the castle placement from Riot is fantastic. They just need to play a little defensively, let these guys push into them. And, I mean, this is why deathmatch at a really high level can kind of be criticized as being hill wars, because holding the hill is everything. It's so important, so crucial to hold the hills, and you get players who are unwilling to move off of their hill because they know if they step off of it, they're going to take a huge amount of damage and then the game could be over in an instant. But this is a pretty good pushback from Riot on the right side. He now has a massive population advantage over FedEx, and mostly in economy, a lot more eco than FedEx, but also a few more military units as well. And on the south side, Jidba now continuing his push against Christ. We got a couple of Mangadai back here in the back of the map, and they're not going to do too much damage. Christ and FedEx quickly dispatching them. But you can see very quickly, just by a glance at this trade here, there's not a great deal of trade going on between FedEx and Christ at the moment. Christ was quite slow to get those markets up on this side. And if we have a look and contrast that to TyRanT, that's a lot more carts right there. You cannot deny. I like big cuts and I cannot lie. It's true. That extra gold is now really going to help to sustain this TyRanT push. And whilst the TyRanT guys did fall back and did take or lose quite a bit of ground, they were at that point investing into trade carts. Now, Christ and FedEx have now got to invest quite a lot of resources into trade carts, and the worry here is that they might not be able to afford that. If they do invest a lot of resources into trade carts, can they also support a lot of military production and more importantly, expensive gold, high gold cost military production? And you know, it's possible that they can't, and that could be a real problem. The center of the map, a team war was attempted but quickly broken down by Riot. And Riot on the right side pushing up this hill as well, deploying trebuchets both in the middle and on the flanks to try and take down those castles. And it's a little bit worrying, because whilst there are a bunch of castles here protecting this trade, and FedEx sticking up another one now just out of range of this treb, these Mangadai could group up, could run into the trade, could kill a bunch of trade carts pretty easily as well. And also note how the main gold piles, the second, third gold piles are starting to dry up. They're looking pretty good at the back, but the ones on the front, you see a lot of empty mining camps and stuff like that. Most of the gold is getting hoovered up pretty quickly. It's not going to be long now before they are relying 100% on trade. And the TyRanT guys have had that trade up for quite a lot longer. On the north side, though, Riot's still pushing forwards. He's regained that hill. And that is always, of course, quite important. Holding those hills like we were talking about earlier on. Just to the south of this, Christ now pushing forwards, and wow, very quickly taking down Jibba there. Christ with a massive population advantage, and Jibba almost foolish, I feel, to engage with these camels here. Sure, he might get a few kills, but he will lose that fight. Simply because, one, he's attacking uphill, and two, he was massively outnumbered. Did kill a few Mameluke, but really probably worth just hanging back, I feel. Still, his production is very fast. He's got plenty of stables up. He's got a bunch of castles. He can replenish his army very, very quickly, providing he has the gold. And believe it or not, he has quite a lot of gold income at the moment. It's not massive, but it's enough for now. Riot sitting on 2.7k gold and 200 population. Riot is so far ahead right now. Sitting on that much gold and being maxed out is a big deal. And now starting to hit that trade line of FedEx and Christ as well. Looks like these guys gonna lose a bunch of trade, deleting their markets even also. And we even see FedEx here widening out this wood line so that the trade carts don't block it up so much. But Riot's in here anyway, and Riot's gonna kill a bunch of villagers, well, trade carts mostly. And this is, of course, causing a reaction from Christ as well, who sent his Mamelukes up here to try and dispatch of this as quickly as he can. Rhea just needs to run back to his hill and he'll be absolutely fine, whilst on the center of the map, Jidba supporting these trebs, supporting these units as these castles start falling down as well. Yeah, so Mamelukes being attacked by siege onagers on the hill. Generally speaking, it doesn't work out too well for the Mamelukes. Fortunately, of course, Christ putting them in wide stance rather than really close knit stance. But even still, Riot's just looking really good with all that gold in the bank. 4k now, and that's so much more than everybody else. I mean, Christ has got 1.2k, which is really pretty good considering they got trade up quite late. But I think a lot of that is obviously being sustained by the extra gold mines that are on the map. Riot, so much gold. He's going to be able to afford siege onagers and manganite all day long. And gold really is the crucial, the critical factor in these late game games, because without it, you're not going to be able to produce anything on par with the manganite and the siege onagers. You know, nothing can really beat these siege onagers. If you have so much gold to just keep producing them, they're going to do so much damage. And what I meant to say is no non-gold unit is going to be able to do the damage, really. So there you go. GG from the ZZ team. Very well played by TyRanT once again. And, you know, ZZ really had a very, not big advantage, but they had a very good potential push in the middle stages of that game. When, you know, Riot and Jidba were really pushed back quite far. They didn't have much population between them, and you know, the ZZ team had a lot more population, a lot more pushing power, but they were kind of sitting around this hill, not really pushing forwards. They didn't have much siege to really support their push. That delayed them quite a lot, and in that little lull, in that sort of downtime for Riot and Jidba, they were pumping out the trade carts like crazy, and they had the really solid trade line much earlier than the ZZ team, similar to the first game, and that is ultimately, I think, what won them the game. Being able to churn out those really high gold units, high gold cost units even, is the real deciding factor, I feel. So there you go, game number 2. In the best of 3 for deathmatch means that it's 2-0. TyRanT Warlord's going to get the 3rd point in this series, and that makes it 3-0 overall for the TyRanT Warlords. Now, bear in mind, this is a best of 7, so it's the first of 4 wins, and that's pretty significant because 3-0 for TyRanT Warlords already could mean that if they win the next game, that will be it for the ZZ team. Now, the ZZ team are a fantastic team. They've done a really good job so far in this tournament, and you know, they are basically the Argentinian A team. They have some of the best players out there at the moment, but still 3-0 already. They're probably going to feel a little bit shaken, and they are going to want to give it their all in this next game, because it's all riding on this. So there we go. Let's come back and we'll go to game number 4 in